Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton, HurricaneTrack.com here Monday now, October 30th, 2023. And we got a lot to talk about. We got some Western Caribbean development possible as we start November. We're also going to take a look at Storm Kieran that's going to be headed towards, I know you're like, what is that? That's going to be headed towards our friends in northwestern Europe and England and vicinity of the UK, France, all that area, northwest Europe, right, over the next few days. And it's going to be a serious storm for that area. Kind of rare that we talk about European weather, but there is a connection to lower 48 weather, North American weather, that's going to translate over to our friends across the big pond. Also, if you haven't figured it out, I have a little bit of a cold, very annoying. So if there's some coughing and throat clearing, which I really hope I can get through this without that, because that's just annoying too. That's what's wrong. Just a cold, no big deal. Just very annoying, kind of like having a splinter in your thumb or something, right? Where it's just like, gosh, so annoying. Anyway, let's get started. First of all, 96L, strong upper level winds, dry air, climatology, all that, winning out, so this isn't going to really develop. This system, though, soon to be 97L, now up to 60% probability of further development over the next several days, could head into the vicinity of the Western Caribbean, at least it should. So our friends in Central America on the Caribbean side need to watch this. I say the Caribbean side because we do have Pilar over here in the East Pac. We'll show that in just a minute. Now, I know you've seen the GFS where sometimes this comes in, mills around down here in the Northwest Caribbean, and then cuts across something like that, depending on which iteration of the GFS or some of the hurricane models that have been run for 96L. That system shows up and it's very strong. Yes, we're seeing all this, and it is a symptom that maybe, just maybe, the pattern could be very favorable for something to develop down here. So regardless of where it goes, I'm sure people are very interested in South Florida, Cuba, the Bahamas. Yes, but I think wherever it goes, there is a chance, as we said, that the ceiling could be very high. Upper ocean heat content is very high. The atmosphere could be primed. So we're going to have to watch this very closely. You know, what does not affect the United States, I know that most of our viewers come from the U.S., I get it, but it could be very impactful for Central America. And with what has happened in Acapulco, we don't need any more shenanigans down that way, that is for sure. We don't need it anywhere, but anyway. Out in the East Pac, not too much to worry about with this system at all. Pilar, though, yeah, we got to watch and see with the debacle of the forecast bust for Otis. You look at this and you say, okay, kind of looks like it's going to mill around for a little bit and then eventually head west-southwest into the open Pacific. Different setup than what gave us Otis, so probably a better handle overall on the forecast for Pilar, so I'm not too concerned with it. We do have tropical storm watches, though, for the coast here from Nicaragua, tiny bit of Honduras, El Salvador, and to the Guatemalan border. Just on the safe side there, some heavier rain and some squalls down that way. Still very much summer down there, down in the tropics. That is for sure. And you can see Pilar very nicely here on the satellite animation, courtesy of Tropical Tidbits. There's 96L. We'll draw 96 on there. And then this is the area we're really going to start to watch. I'll show you the vorticity signature in just a moment, and the energy starting to gather. So we're going to have a busy November, it seems. Probably going to pile up some more ace points and maybe have some impacts down here in Central America. It's possible that elsewhere, I mean, we don't know for sure. It's still several days away. And this is why hurricane season goes on through November 30th. So it's not over until it is over. Now, this is sort of a precursor for what I'm going to discuss in relation to what's going to happen over in Europe. You got some energy coming down out of Canada, this very strong cold front, coldest air of the season. Energy cutting across to the jet stream in the northern latitudes. I've got a couple of great tweets to show you from the UK Met Office over in England as we get to that point. And by the way, down here in the southeast and mid-Atlantic, especially my neck of the woods in Wilmington, is in the 80s. That's it until next year, hopefully. I mean, I'm a winter guy. If it's extreme, I like big snowstorms and lake effect and blizzards. But I like it too when it's kind of, 86 degrees on August 30th or whatever, or October 30th, August 30th too. Bottom line is summer is sticking around for about another 24 hours, and then I think it's out of here permanently. And just real quick to note, you can see some of the snows that are remaining on the ground up here in the Rockies. This is low cloud cover that has eroded away as the sun has come up and heated the atmosphere, and as a result, increasing the ability to hold moisture so the clouds dissipate, and some other snow in the higher elevations out in the northwest. Just thought I would point that out. All right, let's move along here. What do we got? Well, water temperatures, as we know, still very warm and warmer than average in the Caribbean Sea. All out here still warmer than average. We'll get to this later. We'll watch that in the off season. And of course, we have the El Nino over here, which will make it really interesting if we do get a hurricane to develop here in November. That would really fly in the face of this El Nino over here. So I am very interested in, and I'm sure most of you are too, as to what happens with this system. Normally, all that warm water down here would create strong upper level winds, and those upper level winds would be cutting across the Caribbean and shearing anything that tries to get going. And that could still happen, but it looks like we're going to have a really favorable environment. I'll show you that as we progress. All right, in the vorticity department. Now look, 96L's got a great vorticity signature, but this is down at the low levels, right there, 850 millibars. So it's got a good skeleton. Since Halloween's tomorrow, we can mention that, I guess, right? Got a good skeletal structure, but the rest of it is just not there. No meat on those bones because of the dry air and the upper level winds. A little bit of a spin right here. This is what the Hurricane Center has outlined overall. And then there's more energy out here. But these three areas right here could all kind of pile up and get together over here in the Western Caribbean, or one of them could take over. It looks like the GFS likes this area, and we could have some trouble brewing for our friends in Central America. Maybe elsewhere, we'll see. And then, of course, here's the kind of oddly shaped vorticity signature of Pilar in the Eastern Pacific. And then a lot of energy coming down with our cold front, more energy trying to gather. Hey, it looks like Italy right there, doesn't it? The vorticity signature resembling Italy. How about that? It's true. See, there's the heel and the boot. Sicily right there, right? Anyway, Mark's seeing things. No, I don't have a fever. I'm just fine. All right, so Pilar in the East Pac, show you this real quick. Pretty good convection with it. Some shower and thunderstorm activity. Pretty limited overall, though. That's good news for the land areas. And if we go back, we can look at these different data. Let's look at the models real quick. Yes, a firm consensus here that Pilar will head away from Central America, nowhere near getting up towards Mexico, and nowhere near Acapulco, where the suffering in the wake of Otis is just immense. It really is such a problem down there for sure. And the intensity guidance generally on the weak side for Pilar. Again, hopefully no more surprises as far as that goes. Real quick, looking at 96L. Yep, wind shear. I mean, even on the infrared here, you can see the low level spin in there, some of those low clouds. Very little convection at all. That's because of the dry air and the strong upper level winds cutting across the system. So it's not going to do anything, it looks like. Had it been a month or so earlier, a couple months earlier, this would have been a different situation. All right, so there is the Vort signature for 96L. This is our GFS from the 12Z run. 5,000 feet up, or about 850 millibars, as we say in the meteorological biz. There is Pilar. This is pretty cool. I've mentioned this many, many times throughout the season. The way that you can really see the atmosphere here, there's the one little area of spin in the Caribbean, south of Jamaica. And then this is the one that has triggered the area of interest, or the outlook, whatever you want to call it, from the National Hurricane Center. So let's just move this out to about a week's time, straight through. You see what happens? Our system tries to develop, goes into Nicaragua by day 5 on Saturday, and then at 168 hours, big rainmaker, all these spiral bands you see coming in. Yeah, that's energy, and it could be a big rainmaker down here, and that is a problem. Rain is an impact. I should get a t-shirt that says that. Maybe sell them, and everybody will be like, why are you wearing that weird t-shirt if you were to buy one? Yeah, maybe I will someday. Rain is an impact, though. It really is. And this could rain itself out over Central America and be a big problem. Remember Mitch? Yeah, remember Mitch, 1998, a very powerful hurricane down there. Cat 5, if I'm not mistaken, and it was more north, but it was a very deadly system, not because of the wind. Yes, it had its impacts, but it was the rainfall down there. So we shall see what happens. Now, certainly, let's just go back and see a couple of these runs from, let's go to 0Z Sunday. And you can see what happens here. It came in, and it was more north and east, and it was able to mill around and eventually get up into the Bahamas. So, yes, the models do change throughout the time frame. This is overnight, last night into today. The system starts to dive more south. That's the deal there. Losing latitude. So where that vorticity signature, if we go back to the current run, gets going, will really sort of drive what happens with this going forward. And the GFS starts to kind of close it off, if you will, fairly close to the ABC Islands just north of there, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, right? And then it dives it over into this direction. So we're going to have to watch this. Not a done deal that, oh, it's definitely going into Central America, just like a couple of days ago. You know, just jump to wherever you want. This run had it going in and then coming up through Florida. That was not a done deal. So you can't just pick and choose. That's why we have to watch and see how each situation evolves. Now, one thing that is important, let me just take this out to day 5. Let's see if the pattern is there. We talk about this a lot. And oh, yeah, it is definitely there. Look at that. Strong upper-level ridging sitting over the area. Virtually no shear down across where this would be located. Upper ocean heat content is high down there. The water temperatures are about 2 degrees Celsius warmer than climatologically what would be expected this time of year. And yes, the ceiling is high. If it avoids land, if it's over water longer, and that center, the vorticity signature of it, that we can watch, gets going and consolidates, yes, this could be very intense indeed. But even if it's not, it's probably going to be, regardless, hey, look at that, it's almost the same color, so let's switch it over to red, a big rainmaker down here in Central America. So that's our first concern, because rain always accompanies these tropical systems, no matter how strong or weak they are. All right, real quick, shifting over. This was a great animation from the Met Office here, the UK Met Office, and I'll just play it for you. Of course, this is coming out of the United Kingdom, so everything's going to be in Celsius and knots and so forth, right? So, big temperature gradient helps to fuel this system, Kieran, that's going to, they name them over there, which I think is a great idea, not just naming hurricanes, but naming extratropical systems. I would love to see that for the United States, outside of it being a corporate-owned thing. But yes, Storm Kieran is on the way, and boy, it's going to bring some serious impacts to our friends over there. And just starting off again, you got -1 Celsius to 32 Celsius, big temperature gradient. You know what that means? It helps to fuel a powerful storm that'll race across the Atlantic, and it'll impact the areas over in Europe and vicinity later in the week. Here's another video. This has actually got one of the meteorologists over there, and he's talking about it, Alex, and their graphics are just incredible. It's really cool what they do out of the Met Office. And we do a similar thing here in the United States with the Weather Service. But yeah, this is really going to be a big deal as this comes in. I'm going to put a link to this particular one right here, this video and today's discussion, if you have interest across that region. This is going to be a problem. If we scooch this out into time, this is Europe. You got the British Isles up through here, France, the Bay of Biscay over here, the English Channel, Portugal and Spain. And look at that wind. This is down at the 10-meter area. No, this is not 5,000 feet anymore. This is down where we live, or they live. I live over on this side, but you get it. Look at that. Those pinks in there, 50 knots or greater. Some of those winds screaming through the English Channel here. This is by early Thursday morning out that way. 950 millibars the GFS is progging. Huge cyclonic storm up here. Just a giant area of, I mean, this is crazy. It is. And it's going to impact a lot of people. And you can imagine the fetch over the ocean there, driving the Atlantic into the Bay of Biscay, Bordeaux down there. I mean, good grief. I almost want to hop a plane, but like, where would I go? So we'll keep an eye on this with the El Nino out there in the East Pac and the Central Pacific too. This could be a similar pattern throughout the winter with storm after storm impacting the region. My brother lives in London with his family. I gave him a heads up on it. But yeah, this is going to be a big deal. And just one more look at everything to just get you geographically oriented. Ireland over here, anywhere that's going to really be exposed on the southwest coast areas, western coast, you name it. And then these areas, these channels through here, the English Channel, hope nobody's swimming across that anytime soon to set any records. And, yeah, just kidding there. But, yes, this is going to be a big weather story for our friends over here as it comes across the Atlantic, spills in, and really has some big impacts later in the week. We'll be watching that closely on the social media channels of different people that track that kind of stuff. Some of our supporters and friends live over there. We'll get some updates from them as well, I am sure. So, in the world of weather, because the rest of the world, you don't even need, right? I mean, come on. It's all unhinged and just beyond comprehension, everything else. And in the weather world, it's busy here too, but at least in this situation, we don't have any control over it. It just happens, and we have to react and be ready and be prepared and do what we can to adapt, right? But yeah, it looks like looking like a busy start to November in the tropics, and of course, as we watch that storm, the big extratropical storm or mid-latitude storm, head across the Atlantic towards the UK and vicinity. All right, well, I made it through without any major coughing fits, so that's great. And I'll try to get a good night's sleep tonight and get ready for big Halloween tomorrow with the kids and enter November feeling better. Again, I'm not particularly sick. It's just one of those annoying colds. Actually, a lot of people I know have got one of these lately, and it's just annoying. Like I said, like having a freaking splinter in your thumb. All right, let's get this online for you, and I'll stop my whining. And I'll wish you guys a happy rest of your Monday. As always, from all of us here at Hurricane Track, we thank you for tuning in. I'm Mark Suddeth. Hopefully I'll feel better tomorrow, and we'll tune in again tomorrow for you.